Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today, in this video, we're going to move a little ahead and talk about one of the most common, one of the easiest, and yet considered one of the most difficult concepts in the markets if you don't understand them the right way: supply and demand, also known as SND. That's the abbreviation for supply and demand. The idea and purpose of supply and demand in the markets is more or less the same as to that of support equals resistance. Well, it's not exactly the same behavior, but the idea is more or less the same. The concept and effects of supply and demand to the markets are exactly what they are in our daily lives. So, in our daily lives, let's say we talk about any object that's surrounding us, be it a car or a computer or a cell phone, even our clothes. I mean, talk about anything. If the supply of that object is more than its demand, its price would be much lesser in comparison to if a million people required that product, but only 500,000 is available in the markets. It's the same for the currencies. Let's say we talk about US dollar. So we're going to talk about US dollar, the effect on the price of US dollar as a currency in the context of supply and demand. If dollar's demand is more than it is available in the markets, in other words, if more people are looking to buy the US dollar than its availability, then the price of US dollar is going to start to pick up strength and it's going to start going higher against any XYZ currency. In other words, because the availability of dollar is less, people are willing to keep buying it at a higher price because they want to acquire a dollar, but the availability is less, so they'll be willing to pay more than normal to acquire a dollar, and vice versa. If dollar supply is more than it is needed, in other words, if there are more people who are looking to sell the US dollar, like the amount of US dollar available for buying is more than the amount of people willing to buy it, then the price of US dollar is going to start weakening and the price will start to go down against any XYZ currency. So again, if the supply, the availability is more than it is needed, then that product would be available at a discounted price so that even if people don't need it, they'd still be interested in buying it, if that makes sense. I hope it makes the concept of supply and demand a little bit clearer in your heads. I'll try and make it clearer as we move forward. So let's talk about supply as an isolated term first. But before we do that, keep it in mind that the supply is associated with the sell side and the demand is associated with the buy side. The general idea in terms of charts to supply is referred to as an area from where the price shoots down with force, breaking through important areas of support, creating new areas of interest for the price to go down again. And the same but opposite is true for demand. If the price shoots up from a certain area, breaking through some important resistance, is creating new areas of interest for buyers as the price comes back down there. Notice how I've used the breaking of a support for supply and breaking of a resistance for demand. As we remember from the previous video, when a support breaks, it tends to act as a resistance, whereas when a resistance breaks, it tends to act as a support more often than not. Hence, when a supply is formed in the market by selling of the markets to new lows, and when the market retraces back to that resistance that it has created after breaking through the previous support, there's a fair chance that the prices are going to go lower again after some sort of manipulation that we'll discuss as we move forward in the course. Before moving to the charts, I would want to draw it a little bit for you, the concept of supply, so that when we move to the charts, it's easier for you to comprehend. Let's say that there's a solid support that's been holding the markets every time we come down to that support, and then that support breaks. Again, as we have discussed earlier, when a support breaks, it tends to act as a resistance. But there is another concept of when it broke, somewhere in this area where it started to break from and it broke, there's an area of supply that pushed the price lower. When the price comes back to that area again, there's a fair chance that it's going to go lower again. Of course, there are multiple things that we got to keep in mind while we watch that area, and we'll discuss them furthermore as we move forward in the course. But this is the general idea of the support turned resistance after breaking. There's an area of supply in there. That is why the price shot down, and as the price comes back to that area, there's a fair chance we're going to have another sell-off. Let's move to the charts now to give you an example from the charts so that you'd be able to understand it better. This from the euro dollar trade that I took about a week and a half ago. Did share it in the group also. If you're a part of the group, you must have come across it. So let's dig deeper into the concept of the supply. Now, the price falls down to this area, forms a support as it pushes it back up. Price comes back down again. There's still support. Price goes higher again, comes back down again. Support again, goes higher, puts in a higher low, and then eventually it breaks lower with force. Support, breaks, turned resistance. Somewhere in this area, there's an area of supply that pushed the price down. When the price comes back to it, there's a fair chance it's going to go down again. When the price comes back to it, there's a fair chance it's going to go down again. One more time. Price comes down to this area, pushes the markets push the price back up, forming a support. The support breaks. There's an area of supply somewhere around this area where the price is going to come back to, and it'll sell off again. One more time. Price is falling down, forms a support, pushes the prices higher. The price breaks through the support. Somewhere in this area, there's going to be an area of supply. The price comes back, goes for a lower low. One more time. The price is falling down, forms a support. The support breaks. Somewhere in this area, there is an area of supply where the price comes back to, holds off for a little while, and then goes lower. And that pretty much sums up the idea of a supply. And you know, goes in hand with support equals resistance as we have seen it, right? Because if you talk about the latest example that we talked about, this was a support that got broken, turned into a resistance, price came back up, did its thing, and then went lower again. Now, coming to demand, it's the exact same concept as it is to supply, but the opposite is true for demands. After markets form a demand, breaking through some solid resistances, because the demand is associated with the buy side. So when the resistance will break, it will turn into a support, hence supporting the buys. So when the market forms a demand, breaking through some solid resistance, and it starts to pull back to the support or demand area it has created after breaking through, there's a high chance that the demand is going to get activated again, sending the prices higher. Before we move to the charts, I'm going to draw it for you guys once so that we are able to comprehend better. Let's say this is a resistance. Price comes up, goes down, comes up, goes down, and breaks through. Resistance, turn support. Also, somewhere in this area, there's going to be an area of demand where the price comes down to and then goes higher. Let's move to the charts, find an example to demand, and then we'll call it a video because it's, you know, gotten pretty long also. Okay, so resistance, right? Price comes back up, goes down, comes back up, goes down, comes back up, tries to go down, breaks through. Now, where it started breaking from, somewhere in this area, there's an area of demand where the price comes back to, and it goes higher again. Let's find another example. Let's find an easier example. So, well, because recently overall euro dollar has been in a downtrend, so it must be difficult to find. Okay. Yeah, all right. This should be good. No. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to find an example that is easier for you guys to understand at the moment. Of course, there's it's not always going to be 100% same. So there are going to be different visuals to things. But as we move forward in the course, I'm going to train you how to spot the best areas of supply and demand and blah blah blah. But first, let's go through the example. So this is a resistance. Price comes up, goes down, comes up, tries to go through, cannot go through, fakes out, comes back down, goes up, comes back down, goes up, comes back down, and breaks through. So somewhere in this area, there's going to be an area of demand to where the price comes back down again. It's going to push higher again. And the price comes back down again. It's going to push higher again. So this is the overall concept of supply and demand. As we move to the next video, we're going to talk about different states of the market and how the market behaves at different times. And after that video, we're going to start moving to the advanced stuff. So stay focused. And if you have any questions, if you do not understand anything that I've explained, you feel free to ask. Feel free to ask any kind of questions, and we are here to answer those questions and help you understand better. All right, stay tuned for the next videos. Cheers.